Thanks for watching. This is part 3 of why I am forced to commit suicide because people forcible rights against my identification of goods, identity instruments, and identifiers for no apparent reason, even including my family. I'm going to continue where I left off in part 2, previous video, when I checked online from the federal government and I found my formal first, middle, initial, and last name working for the United States Park Services. I never worked for the United States government, the federal government, but my sister did work for the Park Force. I'm not even sure she's still there. And under my formal name and middle initials, that person or my sister was working in Colorado. I never been to Colorado. I traveled through there, but I've never been an employee of the federal government. And I'm trying to figure out, that's interesting because the time my sister left Illinois with her husband to move to Virginia, this is when when all these problems started with identity complications around 1998. That's a coincidence. I'm flagging it for the investigators. Or law enforcement agency if they are investigating. I never gave her power of attorney or relinquished my rights. And I showed you in the previous video the revocation of the power of attorneys and affidavits. I never relinquish my rights to any of my siblings or any other person. Any person. I've done 5 of them with different names included on there. I never worked for Peace Services in Illinois. I never worked for the United States Postal Service, which is also a federal government. I never worked for any capacity of transportation industries. And I'm trying to figure out how were they able to get to my paperwork without my acknowledgement or my consent. But yet I was disenfranchised about it. I am asking people that do care about me to contact the federal government, the FBI, law enforcement agency to do a background check on these people under my paperwork. Because they disidentify me and I am on my right paperwork. I know they have these background check servicers and they disidentifying people, and I'm causing me to have a housing problem with my medical problem. They could claim I'm not the original, and I'm angry. That's a good one. I'm angry. I'm angry because they're on my paperwork. That's what they, remember they, the third person. I don't know who these people are speaking. They speak from the distance. When I'm out and about or in the store or walking home or to the store, I'm scared to even ride public transportation because I get harassed by some of their employees. Anywhere I go, they recognize who I am and they know how to affect me emotionally with their harassments. And what's happening here at Courtyard Village is that I'm having problems with signatures. They can't afford to live here, so they were forging my signature. And then the investigators from the federal government over my case was claiming that I wasn't the original. They just telling them they were actually, whoever they were using or law enforcement agencies, they're telling them that I am not the original person, which I am. And this is causing negligence. Before I moved here, they told me they starved a person to death with this method. It is not negligent. I have written numerous of agencies regarding this problem. That I'm being intentionally being disidentified so they could live and work under my paperwork. And I'm going to be forced to live in the street because of this housing problem. They forged my signature on 2 reasons. They disidentified me and they need to get to my paperwork. And they can confiscate my paperwork living on the streets because they claim I'm homeless anyway. This is the stigmatization that my background don't match my paperwork. And all these people here who's personating me are legitimate on my paperwork. They have rights, more rights than I do on my paperwork. Because my background does look like it matched theirs. And it doesn't. This is stigmatization that I'm a nobody, and they claim I'm angry. I'm angry. They claim they want me to move. They forced me to turn in a letter in June because of the intentional physical assault against me, literally, in this complex with those gay people upstairs. And I was at the store on Wednesday at Myers up the street here on Route 59. And this African American male had walked past me, and I'm quoting this: "You're going to regret you're not a male." That's what he told me. I was livid. Because it comes in my race, it comes in all race. The Hispanics are doing it to me. I'm getting it from the whites. It doesn't matter. I'm going to regret. So I'm assuming, I'm taking a turn to, he might be bisexual and impersonating a woman, similar to the Silence of the Lamb, when Buffalo Bill was hurting those women and then cutting his skin and making a female body for himself to wear. But they're not murdering people per se, but it eventually does cause murder because it causes harassment so bad, the serial harassment. People are committing suicide because of this method. They can't be females. I'm finding out so many men cannot be females, and they feel that they should be females. But you're yearning to be a female, and they're impersonating me as a female. It was his threat. And he's not the only one. He's not the only ethnicity that's doing it. And they want to hurt me. They want to gang rape me because they spread these rumors that turn into an habitual dislike and turn into a hate crime over my birth sex being a female and my gender identity as a female. In January, around about the last week of January of 2016, I was coming back from my college, and these young people were upset, and they were shouting and crying. They want to hurt you. They want to hurt you. I couldn't see where it was because they hide when they shout to me what's going on. They're gonna hurt you. They can't gang rape you. They're gonna hurt you. They're literally gonna hurt you because they can't gang rape you. I'm over 50 years old, and I'm afraid. So I'm asking you, when you review this video, if something happened to me and I wind up committing suicide, do not review this as negligent. When I applied here at Courtyard Village, the property manager part-time, or assistant property manager, Ingrid, had assisted me in the application and credit report and so forth and so on. When you go through the process of rental applicee, she wasn't really nice to me. I will call it nice and nasty. And she was licking her tongue out at me like this. And I asked her, what is wrong with your tongue? My lips are dry. On Friday, the same thing happened to me at the United States Postal Service with one of the supervisors regarding some issues I was having trying to change my address, and it wouldn't recognize my card. And she was doing the same thing. And I pointed to her. I said, why? I told the supervisor at the United States Postal Service, I'll get back to the subject matter, but the similarities of what's going on. I spoke to her and I said, well, you're right there by the surveillance camera. You can't lie. And she keeps claiming her lips are dry. It's derogatory. There's the biblical form of it, your tongue that spread rumors, and then there's the sexual obfuscation of licking out your tongue in a person's face. It's offensive, extremely. And these are women that were doing it to me, so I'm assuming they might have been lesbians or bisexual. And she was making it look like on the camera, her expression, that I'm crazy. And I said, well, the camera is right there. I'm at the counter at the United States Postal Service in Naperville, Illinois, and the camera's right on the corner, right corner there. You need to view it. I'm asking you to contact the FBI Forensic Psychology Division, universities with social sciences, psychologists, psychiatrists. You need to see these people in action. You cannot go as yourself. You cannot tell them who you are, just like the clinical psychologist that's on a train that was observing their behavior. You need to write a thesis, a book about what they've done to people over their paperwork and how they gang up on them for no apparent reason. I don't know any of these people, only my family member. Now, if they were selling my personal paperwork, and that's highly probable because my mom kept it in our personal paperwork in a 60 cosmetic case with a lock. And when my mom died, all of my grade school diploma, my IDs were missing. There was nothing there. It was like somebody scavenged through it, and the only thing was left was a card my mother had left me. That was all left. They took, one of my siblings got all of my personal paperwork, my IDs and my transcripts. And I let my mom keep it for me, thinking it would be safe. I am in the yearbook as I explained. But let me get back to Courtyard Village and Ingrid and applying here as an applicant, and a facial expression with the tongue like this, sticking the tongue out at me like this, meaning a lesbian interaction. I don't know what it is, but I took it as a sexual obfuscation, a sexual harassment problem. Well, I explained to Ingrid that I was a victim of identity theft, and I will not be able to give her a copy, a color copy or a black and white copy of my identification. I will be willing to give her a black and white copy She said, that's fine. We went through the application process in October. On October 1st, I signed the lease, received my keys to the mailbox and into like a fob to get into the weight room, to use the weight room or to refill my laundry card. I rarely go in there. I never even been to the pool. I'm not a pool person at all. And something told me to go a week later to go back in the office. And my sister had sent me $50 through a credit card in an action with Ingrid. And I wanted a copy of it. So I asked her, that would give me excuse to see what was in that file. So I went to the office, the main office here at Courtyard Village Apartments, and approached Ingrid as she was sitting at the desk at the time, and I asked her, could I see the folder, or I wanted to get the copies that my sister did for the receipts because of my QuickBooks. I keep a QuickBook analysis of all of my expenses. And she went into the file cabinet, pulled out my folder, opened it up, flipped one by one through the page, and well, we got to the ID. I gave her a copy, a black and white copy. I couldn't even see my face. I couldn't see none of the details, like I gave them fraudulent identification. I couldn't even see my face. It was dark, like I was dark-skinned. The copy was copied so many times. The name, you couldn't even see the name. You could only see the tip of the letters. You couldn't see none of the details. And that wasn't the original copy. So I went back and I wrote a complaint letter, which she did, and showed and gave them a copy of that ID that I sent her. And after that, I was having identity problems. She used those copies to get a hold of my transcripts because they need a copy of it. They were changing my details on my credit reports with those black and white copies. And she did other damages. She's no longer employed. I think she left maybe a month, not even a month, which I was suspicious of her being an employee here because I had a problem prior to coming to Courtyard Village Apartments with Hinsdale Lake Apartments with an ID. I told them the same thing, and I was with someone. I said, I'm a victim of identity theft. She said, well, we need it for security, for our safety. That's what these rental agencies says, for our safety. And I said, well, I can't give you a copy of my ID, but we can, she suggested we could lock it in the office. And I said, okay, that's fine. So she locked it and she told me to come around their desk. This is what the other leasing agency did. Open it, I couldn't open it. But before she left, she went into the main office where the reception is sitting. I don't know what went on prior to us leaving to look at their apartment at Hinsdale Lake Terrace Apartments. They had the physical copy of my ID. The property manager went in the office, and I'm assuming she told her gave her the key. She took a while coming back where we were sitting, me and this other lady, and she sat there and gave her the key. Well, we went to look at the apartment. I rushed around and I was frantic because I know I needed an apartment. They're destitute of what they've done to people over these IDs, and came back. and it was locked, but she had a copy of it. She probably took a black and white copy of it, and I've been having problems ever since. When I left there over these copies, they took copies of it. I was told by a federal agent not to give them any other copies, and by law, I'm not supposed to leave my ID with anyone. That's what happened to me at Hinsdale Lake Terrence with the actual ID I left with her in her drawer. So she ran in there, took the copy, and ran back and locked it back. So that's how they got to that color copy there. And I had a mark on it. I marked my IDs in a certain way in the back to make sure I get that original ID back. And I did. But they took copies of it. I believe they were using those black and white copies to get social service programs. And I'm not going to give another copy to anyone. It's illegal for me to leave a copy or give them copies. If they're questioning my background, then they should have law enforcement knock on their door and say, can we see your ID? Because now they have to have the cameras on them. And that's exactly what they did to me at Hinsdale Lake Terrence. So when I got here, I was suspicious of Ingrid and her behavior because I had the problem similar prior to coming here with people there, the way she acted towards me. And I thought that she just was there temporarily. She was gone probably in 2 weeks. She wasn't here long. That's what gave me that suspicion about Ingrid. So they were using those black and white IDs, unlocked the drawer from Hinsdale Lake Terrence of her desk to get to my ID to take the black and white copy, the color copy, and then use it as an ID. And I wanted to show you my lease. I won't show you the signature, but the details of it. And the reason why I brought up Ingrid, she came up again. It's something to do with what she did to me. And they have a liability here. And they don't want me to lease any place else because of what a negligent or a theft of one of the employees and didn't want to report it. Here is my lease. This is the whole contract of my lease. And this is from Home Properties, who I was leasing from the first year. As you will see, my name and the address on it. And then it's from November 1st, 2014 to October 31st, 2014 at 9:10. Application fee and security deposit is on back sheet. That's the first year. Here is the second year here. Home Properties, November 1st, 2015 to October 31st, 2016, the back of it. They did go up on my rent, yes. And then this is my lease for the third year from November 1st, 2016 to October 31st, 2017. And here is the first page of it. And then here is the acknowledgement on July 18, 2017, that my lease was going up and my address. Here is my utility bills. pay an extra $58. Plus, this is separate from rent. I am going to stop recording right now. I'm getting a little exhausted, but there is more to discuss. Is why I am forced to commit suicide because of People Enforceable Rights against my identification of goods, identity instruments, and identifier for no apparent reasons. I am not a social butterfly. I don't hang out with anyone. The people that's personating me have more rights than I do over against my own paperwork. Someone is disidentifying me because of it. And in part 4, I'm going to discuss this issue. It's whether a person or management agent has permitted allotment, infringed relational identity and identification surrogates, which means substitution, through disidentification that triggered identity segregation, conformability methods or schemes by means of enforceable rights with respects to protected class category quotas and economic subsidies, enrichments, and entitlements that the owners, managements, agents preferentially treated and profiled more favorably because their cover-up deprived me of the ability to seek meaningful redress in violations of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 as amended by the Fair Housing Act Amendment of 1988, FHAA, Title 42 United States Code, Section 3601, and the following codes. The 13th Amendment for forged and fraudulent identification instrument and voluntary servitude, and the 14th Amendment revealed absence of equal protection rights. The absence, because I'm on my right paperwork. The absence of equal protection rights. And that will include my video recording for today because I'm losing sunlight. Have a blessed one.